Hello, everybody. Welcome into Sports Day Insider presented by the Dallas Morning News. I am Kevin Sherrington, joined by my pal Evan Grant. Uh, we'll have Joe Hoyt on in a little while to talk about the Cowboys and training camp. It's a little earlier out there as we're taping this on Tuesday morning, so we like to give those guys a little chance to sleep, before we put them on. And for now, we'll talk to Evan. Well, first, before we talk to Evan, let's talk about my vacation
Sure.
this last
Let's
week.
talk about your vacation. What happened on your vacation, Kevin?
Well, we went to.
I know what happened around here. I mean, we had a fine show.
You
Sean
did?
and I did. Yeah.
Just you and Sean. How'd that go? Pretty great.
We talked about the Rangers. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good stuff.
Didn't even miss you at all.
I'm sure you did not. I'm sure you didn't. I'm just always just winging it. Just going with stuff. Who knows what?
How was your fine vacation to Zurich?
We had a great time. We went to Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is where we always go. Go to the lake, rent a house, rent a boat. Whole clan goes. The clan keeps getting bigger and bigger, and so that's very fun. We had a great time. A lot of fun.
You rent a house and a boat?
Yeah.
What kind of money are these people paying you?
Well, when you're a big timer like I am, you're drawing the big bucks, pal.
House and a boat.
Well, here's the deal. Our oldest son rents the boat, and we rent the house, Debbie and I. And
Oh,
we're a two income family, So
so until I called you on it, you were going to make it sound like you rented the house and the boat.
I said we. I believe if you go back and check the pronouns, it was a we, not an I. I never say I. Never say I. I know where I rank on this trail. While I was gone, we had the passing of Don Nelson, one of the Mavericks' all-time greats. I will be writing a column as we're taping this on Tuesday about he and his son and the impact, his son Donnie, and the impact they had on the organization. Uh, Pretty much, it was they're responsible for just about everything that the Mavericks did well. There were some things that didn't go well as well, but um, Don Nelson gave the organization some clarity, and it was lacking at the time. Everything turned around, and of course, because of the because of his son Don Nelson, also they didn't draft Dirk Nowitzki, but they traded for him in the draft, and that changed everything. Also, Steve Nash, that changed everything. They set them on the course to winning that first title, even though he wasn't the coach then. A very entertaining coach, an interesting guy, and we send our condolences out to the Nelson family. So now
I
let's talk.
didn't ever get to know Don Nelson.
Well, I didn't get to know him well either. He was at the point in his career he arrived here. It was kind of like, I can do this or I cannot do it. But he was a character. He, Jody Valade, who covered the Mavericks for us back in that era, and she was just starting out. And she posted on Facebook something that he had drawn up a play uh, before halftime of the game, and she was sitting right there. That's back when you could sit on press row. And she's sitting right there, and he autographed it and then handed it to her right during the game. You know, I don't know that kind of thing happens very often. Of course, you remember the Hack a Shack stuff where the clown knows and all of that. He came up with that.
The
And
Hack a Shack predated the NBA. I'm sorry.
well, not the NBA. Oh, you mean at LSU they were doing that?
Yeah,
Well,
Don DeVoe Don DeVoe invented the Hack a Shack. Let's not give too much credit here.
yeah, that's like everything else. Everything else that was big and giving credit to somebody for, there was somebody else who did it before they did it.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen lots of tributes. I saw stuff from David Moore about a party after a playoff game that involved Owen Wilson and various country music singers at Nellie's house that the media ended up at. He was definitely a character. And listen, I mean, going back to what the the late 70s or early 80s. I mean, he was a basketball innovator first and foremost, and um, the impact he had on this organization with the foresight between he and his son to get Dirk Nowitzki here certainly was a franchise changing moment.
Yeah, it was. And he did some other things too, and that's one of the things I'm going to write about. Just kind of just shook the franchise and said, "Hey, wake up! This is what you got to do." And that's what happened. And a lot of that credit goes to Mark Cuban for that as well. But mostly, it was Don Nelson. I loved a picture that someone posted on Facebook of him. I'm sure it was in Maui playing golf barefoot, standing on a tee box barefoot and getting ready to swing away. He was a character. All right, let's talk about these Rangers, Evan. In my absence, the trade deadline pretty much just came and went for the Rangers, and with nothing happening. Of course, there was the Jacob DeGrom famously, now I guess famously said, "No, I'd rather stay with the Rangers. I don't want to go in a trade." Have you narrowed down to who the potential interest was from?
Yeah, the Atlanta Braves
Atlanta Braves. Okay,
narrowed it
and
right down there.
you did narrow it down. Way to go! Put it down to
Yeah,
that.
I guess up in Arkansas they don't the news doesn't reach up there.
We weren't reading the news. We were having too much fun. We don't want to read about the Rangers.
Well, you weren't having a seven fajita. Never mind. A seven margarita, three fajita plate lunch all along Lovers Lane yesterday.
Well, you're dying to get that one in about your 3 fajita dinner or lunch. Wow, man, that's too
Three
much.
fajitas. Yesterday we tried three fajitas, three quesos, and sipped on seven different margaritas for the big upcoming project with food.
I'm glad that you're doing work over in the food section because you're working in the sports department, and you sent poor Sean McFarland off to cover the Rangers and the Angels. He's out there mucking it up in Anaheim, and meanwhile you're back here eating fajitas and
I'm sorry,
drinking margaritas.
he's very close to Disneyland, the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a vacation. He's in Orange County. There are people associated with the Texas Rangers who would consider that to be pretty much paradise.
They would.
Like the manager who lives there in the off season, and the senior special assistant or senior advisor who is also the all-time hits leader in Rangers history.
This is true. Speaking of executives, Neil Liebman quit. What's that all about, Evan?
I don't know if "quit's" the right word. And I don't know if "fired" is the right word because Neil retains his ownership stake. Um, but I think that I think by and large, the central reason for this is Neil he's for lack of a better term as a investor, he's got ADHD. He's just got a lot of different interests and money out there, and he's got a lot of different projects, including Buzzer, the Rangers' new streaming platform. Um, and so I think it was his attention was divided somewhat. Um, I don't know that this is tied to this, but Ray Davis's daughter, Chris, joined the board of directors 2 years ago, and I think she has become much more visible around the ballpark. And I don't know if Chris Davis is going to end up taking on a more significant day to day role. Um, and third, well, I was told that this had nothing to do with the switch to Buzzer or the abrupt leaving of Victory. Neil 2 years ago took over the whole RSN element of the Rangers. And while I believe the RSN production, the actual producing of the games, has been successful, and the Rangers have done much more than a lot of teams that have gone with the MLB.com or MLB Network produced games. The Rangers still have a full fledged pregame show and a full fledged postgame show. Um, I don't think the revenues have been where the Rangers thought they would be, and so I don't know if that would be labeled a quote unquote failure or a lack of accomplishment, or it's just that this market that that the bottom has completely fallen out of the TV broadcasting market, and there's no real way to actually approximate what you're going to get. So I think there's several different factors involved there. Um, but since he still retains his ownership stake, it's a lot like Bob Simpson. Also Neil was going through a divorce like Bob Simpson did, and so Bob still retains his ownership, although it's been diluted somewhat. Neil still retains his ownership, so he's just leaving the day to day operation.
So we don't think this is any kind of feeling on Neil's part if Neil was just leaving on his own. Like, hey, I don't like the way the direction of the franchise is going.
I mean, I think it was just described to me that this was amicable. That's the way it was described to me, and I haven't gotten anybody else to tell me anything more enlightening.
Okay, all right, that's it.
The morning news, me, reached out to both Neil Liebman and Ray Davis yesterday and did not receive phone calls in return. So
Yeah. All right. So back to the Jacob Degrom thing. Did you ascertain what if the return would have been on Jacob Degrom trade had he agreed to that?
no, I don't know what I do not know what the return would have been. It would have been, I believe, one of Atlanta's top pitching prospects, but which one I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a rumor, or at least some thought initially, that maybe Spencer Strider, who's out for the year, and we don't know exactly what the long term is going to be on him, would have been part of the deal. But I was told that that was not the case. So um, it was a significant pitcher. I don't know if it was one for one, and that's why I know that there are millions of people out there listening to this podcast every week, and I just don't want to provide false information. So I don't want to throw out any names.
Oh, sure. Let's throw out a few.
I care about accuracy in journalism.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Sometimes,
maybe.
depending on the situation and the circumstances. Yeah. Look, I don't know. I don't know if another, if a one for one does anything for me. If it's obviously if it's a top prospect, then sure, maybe. But I don't know. And then brings to the point so what to do with this team. I mean, it is a 500, as you've written several times. It has been a 500 team now for like 20 years, or it feels like, and so it doesn't seem to matter what they do or who they're playing. They find a way. They get a little momentum up. They really start to play well. It looks really good, and then they just fall apart. And go right back to what they were before, just barely with their noses above water. So, but I do think you cannot give up on this season just because I don't believe in the Astros. You know, so the Astros are as we're taping as they're a half game in front of the Rangers, right? And they simply and then they do handle the Rangers pretty well, but I just don't believe in them. I thought that Seattle was a team, and that has to get somebody fired with what's happened to the Mariners this year, right? So I just think that you can't give up on it, and that means that you can't give up on Jacob Degrom. I mean, especially now with Nathan Eovaldi out, and that would make you think, well, then you should give up. You should run the white flag. If Nathan Eovaldi is going to miss a month and maybe more than that, then what's your rotation going to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, but the Kevin, they got Cody Bradford back. The Jack Leiter is going to start a rehab assignment this week. Jordan Montgomery is back, although the first outing wasn't great. So the story of the week last week was, well, now we finally got depth for the starting rotation. Well, the story of this week is that depth is going to be put to the test. Um, I don't know what the long term solution, the long term outcome is going to be with Evaldi. His history has been that traditionally, in the best cases, he misses about a month. There is 7 weeks left in the season right now, so if he misses the rest of August and comes back for September, that's a huge stretch drive. And then if you've got a healthy, fresh Nathan Evaldi for the playoffs, we've seen what that is worth. I don't think from some reporting I did yesterday, I don't think that this is, um, a ligament involved. I don't think that this is a Tommy John type of situation or anything quite that catastrophic. So we'll see what the future holds for him. Cody Bradford's start last week was really encouraging. Um, and if the Rangers can't get through this week to start off without Evaldi, they've got bigger problems because they're playing the two worst teams in the American League. Two teams who both traded away some pieces at the deadline. Um, and it's imperative for this team to win. And they should be able to beat these teams, plain and simple. They haven't had a great track record of doing that this year, but they should be able to beat these teams. And if they don't, I mean, this is their chance to make up. I want to say make up ground, but this is their chance to put pressure on the rest of the division. The rest of the division on the Astros. The Rangers play 3 more games against Anaheim as we record this, and then go to Sacramento for 3. They need to go 5-2 on this road trip, because the Astros next week have the exact same schedule, only it's at home. They've got the A's and the Angels coming into Houston, and so they're gonna you would assume that they're gonna crush those teams. So the Rangers need to keep pace right here.
Yeah, they do. Although that first game in in Anaheim, they need 10 innings to win that game. 9 innings to
Well,
score 1 run.
the Astros needed 10 innings and needed a run in the 9th to beat San Francisco last night. So, I mean, these are not great teams. The bottom line is neither of these are great teams. The one thing I keep coming back to on all of this that concerns me is the Houston Astros have the best player in the American League, maybe in baseball this year, in Yordan Alvarez. And that alone might be enough to carry them to the division title.
Good. He's a very scary player, isn't he?
He is a bad man, as I've said for 4 years.
Yeah, he really is. The only thing keeping him from being a Hall of Fame player is just the injuries. He just hurt a lot, kind of like Corey Seager. But God, my gosh, he just does everything. I don't. He reminds me of a little bit of Miguel Cabrera in his prime, and maybe even Albert Pujols. That's the kind of damage he does. And
Yeah,
and then to hit for average too, the way he does, it's just unbelievable. Everything he can do at the plate.
he's a tremendous hitter. There's no doubt about it. And I mean, he's capable of carrying a team. It's going to take 86 wins to win this division, maybe 85 to win this division, and he's capable of carrying a team to an 85-win season all by himself. You'd like to think that Corey Seager could do that, and look, he showed a glimpse of that with his 3-run homer that kind of decided the game, and also allowed the Rangers to manipulate their bullpen a little bit on Saturday, but he so far hasn't shown the ability to carry this team long term.
So what's your bet on this team then, Evan? At this point,
I don't know that I can make a bet on this team right now. I just don't. I mean, it's so confounding. But look, all I can tell you is this: they went 4-2 last week against a slate of losing teams. They seem to get some emotional lift from the fact that Jacob deGrom said, "I believe in us. I believe I can do better, and I believe in us." They've got a week this week that's built for a winning stretch. You go 4-2, followed by 5-2. It's a 13-game stretch where you've gone 9-4. Maybe that rests you back control of the division, and maybe you take off. But to this point, Kevin, and again, you go back to the start of last year, and really go back to the middle of 2024. This is just a 500 club, and it's hard to see them being much more than that. But if you get one 10-game stretch where you play really, really well, that may be the difference in all of this.
Well, the longer you push it back, yes, no question about that. Here we are in the middle of August, just about, and
I mean, I hate it's tiresome. We've talked about this all year on this podcast. I've talked about this all year with John on the SportsDay Rangers podcast. But it's hard to get a feel for this team because every time you think every time you think they're about to get knocked out, like Al Pacino, they drag me back in. And every time you think that they're about to take off, some inexplicable injury or issue arises. And they've never been fully healthy. What team has? But it is just a 500 team. And the hope is that, it's always going to even out a little bit, right? But you hope that as the season goes on, at some point you get that hot stretch and time runs out.
Well, but it goes back to, I think, a little bit to your point earlier about Yordan Alvarez carrying the Astros. Yordan Alvarez, when he's healthy, he's great. All right, and who is great on the Rangers?
Well, the answer to that is supposed to be Corey Seager and the starting rotation.
Yeah, and that's 0 for 2. There are moments. There are times when they kind of live up to that. I think that's really, to me, probably the what the issue is with the Rangers over the last 2 years. They're good enough as they're built to be a 500 team, but no one wants to be a 500 team. You want to
Right.
get to the playoffs, and so the difference is supposed to be, well, we signed these, when they signed Simeon and Seager, and it worked. In 2023 it worked, and they had enough other guys who had career years. They plowed through the playoffs on the road, and they win the World Series, and it was all great. Uh, and they just haven't been able to do that ever since. And I think one of the reasons is because they haven't gotten those kind of performances from their marquee players.
Yeah.
Basically,
And
Wyatt
listen, I mean,
Langford
to
has
your point,
replaced him.
Kevin, right? Corey has come back from the IL, came back at the end of July, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, it's only 9 games, but he's hitting a very nice 273 and a very average 727 OPS. He by no means has taken off yet. And the longer the season goes, the more and more it wanes the thought that, hey, at some point Corey's going to take over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least it's trending upward. It's not trending very fast, but at least it is trending upward. He is starting to do some of the things you would expect him to do. Uh, it would be interesting to know, and of course, he would never say this. How much his back's bothering him? Still, if there's any issues with him, it just seems with Corey, he's always managing something, right? Managing his back, he's managing his hamstrings, he's everything. There's an issue of some sort.
Managing his emotions.
Managing his emotions, exactly.
Does a good job of that.
He's an expert at it. But anyway,
I will
so
say this, and I've not talked to any players about this, but the Rangers have that whole little thing where Jake Berger's got like a whole dance routine when he reaches base with the lasso and the steamroll and the salute, and they all lasso. And I watched Corey, and he reached base a couple times in the Baltimore series, and Corey's the one guy that doesn't participate in that. I haven't talked to anybody about whether or not that how that rubs guys, but it's just to me an example of this guy can't allow himself to just be part of the group.
no, he said famously at that All-Star game. Remember when he said, "Yeah, my brothers beat that out of me."
Yeah.
And I don't think he meant literally beat it out of me, but I think you know, and that's a powerful dynamic because I have brothers and I knew what that was like. To have that, and I could really identify with it, and so um, I empathize with him in that a little bit. But I also go back to that World Series run where he's showing all that emotion and everybody's talking about how great it was for the team and how much it energized the dugout. Even Marcus Semien said that, and then poof, it goes away. And I think when it goes away after you've done it, well, that's a mistake. Either don't do it and just stick to it forever and say this is just who I am. But when you do that and then you don't do it anymore, I think it says, well, what the heck? Were you
Yeah.
just trying then and you're not trying now? I mean, what does that mean? And so it leaves everybody else to try to figure out what does this all mean? So anyway.
I've spent my life trying to figure that out, Kevin.
I know, Evan. There's lots of stuff. What does it all mean? What is the big picture? What does all this mean anyway, Evan? For you, it means 3 plates of fajitas and 7 margaritas.
We've had since Friday. I've had, I think it's up to like tastes of 15 different margaritas.
Wow, 15 margaritas.
Yeah, some of them are not have not been that great.
No,
Yeah.
no. Debbie and I discussed that when we got home because the first thing we always do after we come back from vacation is like, all right, let's go eat Mexican food.
You go to Meat Casino.
Well, we did, but and the reason we went there is because she loves the not only just the margarita, but the what's the thing of the swirl?
The Mambo Taxi.
Mambo taxi. Yeah, she loves that.
Yeah, that's on the list for us to go and try. It's been a while since I've had a Mambo Taxi, but it's pretty much the. I really feel like that is the old guard. Las Palmas seems to be like the current um, go to margarita, but I think Mi Casina was, until about 5 years ago, it was the margarita in town.
Yeah. Let me just say this before we bring Joe on. I'm sure Joe's shocked to come on and find out we're talking about margaritas. The Rangers are that bad, Joe. So that's why we're talking about margaritas. Is that um, looking around? We go to the original Mega Casino because it's right behind our house over here in North Dallas.
I thought the original was Highland Park. Highland Park.
No, no, no. This was the first one.
The original's up there by you, and
Yeah, it is, and so we've lived here for 32 years, 33 years, 32, 34 years, and it opened like 2 years before we moved here. But anyway, is that how many young people are in there? And I'm going to tell you, you go into any other restaurant in our neighborhood, and in lots of places that we go to eat, and there's nothing but old people in there. But in Migacina, there are a lot of young people. I would
I,
say half the crowd in there is under 25,
I just want to
which is
remind you of
shocking.
something very quickly.
Yeah.
You are an old person too, Kevin. So anywhere you go, there are old
Well,
people.
yeah, I'm well aware. I'm well aware, but I'm just saying it's very interesting to me that it draws so many young people, and that has to be very encouraging to Ray Washburn that he's got that young market cornered. That's really good. All right.
Mika Cena is it's yeah, it's the old guard, and it's still got plenty of followers.
Still it does. Still got his fastball. All right, we got Joe Hoyt here. We got to get Joe going because he's got to get going. He got to go to the Rams practice for the joint practice with the Rams. And Joe, I saw a note went out from the Cowboys saying that you can't work at their facilities because it's too small. Tell them to get with it, right? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Go to a Starbucks and write your story?
I mean, it's very high school like of covering high school football. I mean, I used to just go park outside McDonald's and ride my cars just to get a little bit of Wi-Fi. Like, hey, let me get some of that Wi-Fi you got there. But yeah, I don't need much space. I think it should be for those TV people, and I think that they could have allowed us little newspaper reporters to have a little bit of space. But
Yeah,
is what it is.
yeah, you're not a big guy.
You,
Come on.
Joe, let me just remind you of something very quickly. You work for a newspaper, which a lot of Americans don't even know exists. Like the actual idea of a newspaper. So we don't matter.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's true. My negative self talk tells me that all the time, but then my optimistic side says, there's something still out there. But
Joe, stick with that, pal. I'm gonna tell you something, and it's carried me almost 50 years in this business. That optimistic side.
Oh yeah, Mr. Optimist, Kevin Sherrington.
Yeah, I am. I'm very optimistic. I'm very critical but optimistic at the same time. It's a remarkable, a very complex person,
the
Kevin.
duality of man. There you go.
Yes, that's right. I represent that very well. All right, Joe. So listen. So the Cowboys have signed Quinnen Williams to a 10-year deal, $500 million. I don't know, something like that. What was it they gave Quinnen?
3 year extension, 105.9. It sounds like a radio station, but that's the million that they're giving him. Just enough to edge Jeffrey Simmons to be the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. And he's now the second highest paid Cowboy there is behind Dak Prescott.
How about that? So they didn't want to pay. Micah Parsons, but they don't mind paying Quinnen Williams. So obviously not the same ballpark. That would have been quite a bit more to pay Micah Parsons, but he's also quite a bit younger than Quinnen Williams is. Do we feel like? Again, remind me, how old has Quinnen reached? 30?
No, he's 28.
28.
28. So do we think this is money well spent?
I do, because I think ultimately when they acquired him, this was the inevitable path. I think when they acquired him, gave up a first round pick, second round pick, and Mozzie Smith, this was saying, hey, we believe that this guy could be the core of our defense moving forward. And they told him as much. When they acquired him, they told him, hey, we want you to be a leader on this defense. We want you to be the thing that turns this defense around. And I think the thing that's telling for me is ultimately, yeah, I mean, are you going to turn down $105 million for to carry you through 2030? Probably not. But if Quentin Williams wanted to, he could have taken a tougher path here. The Cowboys have been bullish. They gave up some leverage, honestly, when they said at training camp, yeah, we want him here long term and we want to negotiate with him now. But he was signed through next season. If he wanted to, and if the Cowboys defense, had this resurgence this year and he was at the head of it, I mean, he could have got more money next year too. And he could have really played hardball. But I think that this was telling that Quinnen Williams, he believes that this Cowboys team, believe it or not, can actually make the playoffs, can actually do some things. And, he was so, his experience with the Jets was so bad in terms of that regard that I think once he's had a semblance of hope, I think he wanted to lock into it.
Yeah, I get that, and that's the point I wanted to bring up with you. Is leading to when you made the point about his leadership skills. You know, everybody we hear from now, and we heard from Kenny Clark, who's also cited for his leadership since the Cowboys have acquired him, and he was talking about Rashawn Gary recently and said, "Yeah, I want to get him in there because I know the kind of guy he is, the kind of leader that he is, and he's great for this. He'd be great for this locker room." I'm hearing a lot of that, Joe. And what that tells me is there was not much leadership in that locker room, certainly on the defensive side of the ball, before these acquisitions. Now, I think there was from DeMarcus Lawrence to a certain extent, but I don't know that there was a lot from anybody else, was there?
Well, I think I'd put it this way. I think that there was not unified leadership. I think that there was, different factions. I think different people had different ideas of how to lead. Like, for example, like Micah Parsons cares a lot about football, right? Like he works very, very hard. He also has a different quote unquote leadership style. And you know, when Demarcus Lawrence left, I think that there was a little bit of a leadership gap, and I think different guys had different ideas how to fill it. And ultimately, the guys right here, right now, I think they're on the same page on how to lead. I've been asked this a couple times, like, okay, what's different about this year? It feels different. I think it's just the noise, frankly. Like, I think like you don't have Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, and even like a guy like Israel McQuamu, like they're just louder people, right? They're very vocal. They're going to tell you what they think rather than show you. I think right now you have a lot of guys that are going to show you rather than tell you. Kenny Clark is not very talkative, right? Quentin Williams is about his business. Rashawn Gary is about his business. Caleb Downs and Jayshon Barham. Jayshon Barham literally won't even talk to us. Caleb Downs is a guy that is very about his business rather than talking a lot. So I think that they have found a leadership style that is more uniform with what they would like it to be. And I think Quentin Williams is a perfect example of it.
Jay Barham won't even talk to you?
He has not talked to the media yet. I tried. I got told no. And I asked multiple questions about why, and I got silence. So, and that's been a
Wow.
common experience so far with Jay Sean. But it's funny because like he talked to rookie minicamp and he's pretty good. I've just been told from many people that like he believes that talking is not beneficial to his mission of playing on the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. Okay. There was a time when
But not by him. He didn't say that.
no, he's not saying that.
No, he
Yeah.
won't. He won't tell us. But he's getting. If you're going to be the starting Mike linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, like he potentially is, you'll eventually have to talk, even if it's a Marshawn
Yeah.
Lynch. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah. So is there potential for him to be that?
Yes, definitely. And I think right now he's dealing with a groin injury, which is going to kind of slow down that progress a little bit. But they've been really impressed with his ability. And I think the big thing about him is they had a plan for him. Jayshon Barham, he's a third round pick. Why? Well, because he was kind of an edge at Michigan. He was kind of a middle linebacker at times. He did multiple things, but I think that a lot of teams just didn't know exactly how they wanted to use him. I think the Cowboys brought him in. They wanted to make him a middle linebacker with the potential to have Zach Bond versatility and move to the edge when need be, and he's done that. And I think that he fits the middle linebacker mold more than DeMarvin Overshown and D. Winters, who I think they look at as weak side linebackers. So I think week one, your starting linebackers, you could have DeMarvin Overshown at Mike and D. Winters at weak side, right? But I do think eventually you're going to see Jayshon Barham not only be a rotational piece at Mike, but eventually be the starting Mike for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I made this point with Calvin a couple of weeks ago, and I have a hard time envisioning DeMarvin Overshown as a middle linebacker. He just, to me, he is a weak side linebacker. You want him chasing the ball, with that kind of speed. So I had not seen enough of Barham play at Michigan to know whether he can be that or not. They did obviously address it at safety and whatever. And give me an idea of this first before I even talk about that. Is Caleb Downs technically going to be what? What is the definition of his position? Does he have a definition of his position?
Yeah, he's going to be your nickel, your star position. He's going to be a guy that plays inside the box, plays in the slot, will play deep safety at times. He is the versatile chess piece that is a prerequisite for Christian Parker's defense.
Okay. And how much of that, with Christian Parker, we always talk about Christian Parker. I mean, my gosh, let's hope that he is what he says he is, because we're kind of making him out to be the next Bill Belichick, at any rate,
he's certainly not the next Roman Polanski based on the amount of issues regarding video.
That whole thing's pretty funny. Because I think, like, and Christian admitted it on the Fan, but I'd heard this too, that he would use burner accounts to follow Calvin in training camp last year, right? Like, he would use burner accounts to follow these guys, and he would signal things, and he found it beneficial. Like, they played the Eagles week 1 last year. It was a close game. The Eagles ended up winning. Did something Calvin tweeted, during training camp cause the Cowboys to lose? Probably not, right? Like, and I think
I want to go with this. Calvin Watkins, and this is you saying this, Joe.
Yep, clip it, put it on Twitter. Me blaming Calvin for the Cowboys going 0-1 to start last year. But no, I think, coaches will tell you this. I'm sure they do it in baseball too, Evan, where, like, oh, every little thing helps and could be the difference in a game. I'm not necessarily a big believer in that in terms of, like, training camp film. And ultimately, our argument to them was, guys, we actually have tighter shots. We're on the field. We have discretion we're not trying to give scheme away, right? We're not trying to tip things. But by having fans out there who can give you wide all 22 film that are filming from the snap of the huddle throughout the whole play, and you can see all these motions and disguises, that's a bigger issue. You would actually want our film, not theirs. So, is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you hear all of this stuff, and I think more of it just comes down to control than it does actually finding an advantage. But like you said, Joe, everybody's looking for something on the margins to help them win, and I would hope that the team and the defense, as constructed and as planned by Christian Parker on its own, is good enough to win. It's just the whole idea of getting some video that some TV guy reported or recorded during the open portion. I don't think it's made a big difference in the Cowboys' fortunes over the last 30 years. But hey, to each his own, man.
Yeah, and that advantage, I think, you can argue there's something you could find week 1, right? Like, especially with the new defensive coordinator. After week 1, it's moot too. I mean, and it's irrelevant. You've put your stuff on film. And I even said this too. Shoot, if you're gonna have open practices, I mean, the New York Giants could send a scout in theory just to sit in the stands and watch. Like, that's part of the deal.
Right. Joe, let me ask you this. So,
although I will say, we had this issue in baseball this year where a scout for the Angels was sitting in the stands with his camera recording coaches' signals from the third base box, recording that and reporting it back to his guys. He was fired when that was revealed, but it's the Angels. It didn't really exactly help them a whole bunch. So there's only so much you can gain from this stuff.
For
I
sure.
think that
Better players help.
the league should let the Angels do that. Give them a little up, give them a little step here. Here we go. We'll give you a little extra. So, Joe, with this team, that the way the defense is constructed right now, and the Joneses keep dropping hints that we're always thinking we can add to, and of course everybody says that. Why would you say no? We're not going to do anything. A, do you really think they are open to adding something? And B, what would that be? And C, it better be a pass rusher, right?
Yeah, it's funny because Stephen Jones told someone yesterday, I forget who, that, hey, cornerback and linebacker are some of the positions we're keeping an eye on. I've been told that edge rusher is something that that they're actually kind of monitoring. Um, I think that they'll make some type of move eventually before the season begins to add a pass rusher potentially. I don't know to what level. But I'll say this: I think too. I don't think Jerry was lying or just stirring things up when he said that we are willing to do substantive things in order to help this team this year, and we're willing to take picks from the future. I think that's their mindset. I think that that's something they're willing to do. But I also, from the very beginning, I think that they're talking more about like something they did last year with Quinnen Williams, where they said, "Hey, at the trade deadline, if we need someone, or a little bit more into the season, if we need a player that we think can help us now, and we believe that we can do some things in the playoffs, let's do it." Because ultimately, they have one first round pick right now. Um, they have Dak Prescott, going into the later part of his, career. If you gave a first round pick for someone right now, let's say Josh Sweat, right? And then either Josh Sweat got hurt or Dak Prescott got hurt, then the whole trade is moot. And then the whole trade is not even worth it's not worth it. I mean, you just gave up a first round pick, burned it on fire for the chance to go to the playoffs, and it didn't work out. So I think that that's something that they're kind of guarding against. I think it's something they're feeling out. I think conversations are had to lay the groundwork for things like that. But I just don't see anything happening from like a substantive point of view before the season begins.
All right. So well, that to me that's the only thing that matters really at this point. Is I think they're better in lots of places. They're incrementally better, maybe, but they're better. I'm not sure that they're better in their pass rush, and it feels like more that they're going to have to end up scheming something like that. And I don't know if that really works.
I think that they're really buying into the idea of what the Denver Broncos did last year, that they could have the best pass rush in the NFL without a Micah Parsons level type pass rusher, without a Max Crosby type kind of guy. Um, but Nick Benito is is pretty darn good himself, right? And I think they're hoping that maybe Rashawn Gary is not going to be Nick Benito, but he can get up there. They want to do it with the collective, not the individual. But I still think that they could use a little bit more juice. The interesting X factor I think will be Malachi Lawrence. Um, he's still false stepping, which is kind of that's something that when I played as a kid, like day one, we're talking about going forward, not stepping backwards as our first step. Like it's kind of wild to me that that's still something he's dealing with, and yet he still pops in terms of getting after the quarterback. He's still beating some of their offensive tackles. If he's a guy as a rotational pass rusher that can get after the quarterback and give you a handful of sacks to 7 sacks, like I think that that's kind of an X factor with their pass rush too.
Could be. All right, Joe, we know you got to go, so we're going to let you go. We appreciate you stopping by and talking to us, and we'll let you out of here now. As a matter of fact, Evan, unless you got anything else, I think I'm going to shut this thing down.
Well, why are you brushing Joe off so quick?
Because he's got to go to the Rams practice.
I got a Las Palmas date. I got to get some margaritas. So
yeah, that's right. Not
Joe,
everybody's
what's your
living
favorite
the
margarita in town?
I got a hot take for you, Evan. I don't know if you're going to like it. I'm not a big margarita guy, and I'm Mexican, by the way. I just think margaritas, like a good margarita, is hard to find. I think that we just kind of couple it with tacos, and they oversell it, and yeah. So a mambo taxi ain't bad though.
Mambo Taxi is very good. That's correct.
That's your hot take.
I don't think
Well, he
I
said
think
he didn't like
margaritas are overrated.
margaritas.
I think margaritas are overrated.
There you go. See,
I think a good margarita may be hard to find, but that's the whole purpose of this endeavor.
I know, and
Is
that's
to
but
find
I'm
a good
saying that
margarita.
people accept like low level margaritas, like, oh, let's get margs, let's do it, and I'm like, no, like this marg sucks.
yeah,
So I think you need to find the good
Wow.
ones.
yeah.
Wow, blaming Calvin for a week 1 loss and margaritas suck. Joe Hoyt.
I'm coming in hot
Hot
today.
take.
I'm coming in hot,
Yes.
and I'm
All right,
leaving. I'm leaving.
Bye,
do me a favor
Joe.
when you go over to the Rams thing, ask Matthew Stafford where the best marg in town is.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
There you
Has he
go.
ever been a high school teammate with anyone of substance too? You know, I think
Yeah.
that I've never known that. So
We'll see.
All right, Joe. Thank you. All right, there goes Joe. And that was some pretty good stuff from Joe. I liked it. Especially that stuff about margaritas being overrated. That was maybe the topic. Or Joe blames Calvin for.
I like
Cowboys
that.
first
Should be the
loss.
headline on this.
So we'll put that on there.
Cowboys lost week 1 last year due to Calvin Watkins' tweets.
Yeah. Or it's even better, say DMN Stafford blames teammate for Cowboys' first loss.
I like
that. Yeah, that's good.
There's plenty of Rangers who are using burners to read my tweets. I get plenty of feedback on that.
How sick is all of that anyway? Holy cow! What's going on in the world? I'm just not that duplicitous, it's like, what the heck? What are we hiding behind? My gosh, it's a different world. This is a different world, Evan. I don't know.
It is a different world, Kevin.
I don't know if I'm ready for it. Get me.
All right.
real.
Well, is there anything else we need to touch base on?
No, I think that's going to do it. I think we covered it all. We covered everything worth covering. It was in this podcast. This single podcast.
Well, it's good to have you back, Kevin.
Evan, it's great to be back. I'm sorry we didn't get to play golf this week. That didn't work out. We're gonna have that next round of golf here.
I played Saturday.
Did you really?
Yeah, there may have been some heat stroke involved. We didn't tee off till 11.
Oh my gosh.
And I physically could not play the last 4 holes. I was.
Did they have you on a cart?
I was close. So there will be no, until we get past this summer, there will be no pre 10 a.m. no post 10 a.m. tees.
That was foolish. Was there anybody within a 10-mile radius of you when that happened?
Oh yeah, of course. We played at Irving. Of course, was jam-packed with people.
Crazy people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, look, Natalie's boyfriend Tommy. I got to brag on Tommy. He shot 74. He shot his best round of the year.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
So you were an inspiration to him.
I shot 174 and he shot 74.
Oh, but who's counting, right?
Yeah, I stopped after about 8 holes.
That's for the best. Evan, don't be counting. Don't be writing it down.
It was not a great day. It was not a great day of golf, but a day with playing with Natalie and Tommy is a great day.
There you go.
Heat stroke and all.
And there's someone there to monitor you. That was good.
I even had an alcoholic beverage on the golf course.
Wow, Evan.
Something called a water hazard.
Is that right? Water hazard.
I don't know where they're coming up with these drinks, but this was vodka, Sprite, and blue Gatorade.
Boy, it sounds wonderful.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah.
My electrolytes stay just fine.
You should have poured it over your head. That would have been better.
Oh boy.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We appreciate you coming out and listening to us, and we hope you'll be back next week. I can't guarantee that you want to come back after this week, but hopefully you will. And so from everybody in here to everybody out there, thanks, and we'll see you next time.